I entitled this video Magic Numbers, and this is because of computers. And I'm going to talk to you about this right now. Have you ever looked at those media cards, you know, your SD cards, your memory stick Pro Duos, so on and so forth? One day you'll go in, they'll say, well, you have 2 gigabytes of space. And then you go the next day, and all of a sudden you find these chips that have 4 gigabytes in space. And then the next day you go in, and all of a sudden, now the chips have 8 gigabytes of space. Well, you say, where all these numbers come from? Well, they originally came from the random access memory, which was put into computers. Now, here's how this works. This works with RAM. It also works with hard drives. It also works, well, it was supposed to work with burning disks, but yeah, that didn't go too well. But it also works with media cards, okay? So what happens is, if you'll remember my discussion about bit and byte, I told you that a bit is like a 0 or 1. Either the computer is on or it's off. The light switch is on or it's off, okay? 1 meaning it's on, 0 meaning it's off. Okay, so that's where I talked about the absence of value. You know, I said 0 represents the absence of value and 1 represents some kind of a value. Alright, so computers read literally in binary. Okay, well, when you have a combination of bits, remember, a bit is either a 0 or a 1. That's all it'll ever be. It'll either be a 0 or a 1. So that's a bit. Alright, a byte is a combination of 8 bits. Okay, and when you have a byte, which is a combination of 8 bits, then you have a representation of a letter, like the letter A, letter B, letter C. It could be a representation of a number that you would actually see on the screen. Say you wanted to see the number 2 on your computer screen. Well, it would have a character represented by a byte, which is, of course, 8 bits. Now, computers went like this, okay? You had your 1 byte, your 2 bytes, your 4 bytes, your 8 bytes, your 16 bytes, 32, 64, whatever. It finally went to 1024. Okay, when it reached 1024, it became kilobytes. Why kilobytes? Because kilo is the term for 1024. Okay? Well, actually it's 1,000. Kilo is the term for 1,000. If you have 1,000, you have kilo. Alright? So, computers then eventually had 2 kilobytes of space, 4 kilobytes of space, 8, 16, 32, 64, and it went all the way up again until it hit 1024. Now, when it hit 1024, it went to megabytes. Why? Because if you have 1024 kilobytes, you have 1 megabyte, which is 1 million bytes. Okay? 1024 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. Okay? So you'd find computers that had megabytes of space, 2 megabytes of space, and it went up and up and up and up. You can check the history for yourself. You'll find out. You'll find the hard drives had 2 megabytes of space, 4, 8, 16, 32, so on and so forth, all the way up until it hit 1024. When it hit 1024 again, it became gigabytes. Okay? So, we went from kilobytes to megabytes to gigabytes. Now you're seeing chips that have, you see SD cards that have 2 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes. I have chips that have 8 gigabytes. I have 2 chips like this. And there are actually chips out there that have 16 gigabytes now. And they're already talking about having chips that have 32 gigabytes. So you go 2, 4, 8. Now notice here, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32, and so on and so forth until you reach that number again. So, nowadays, computers have terabyte drives. What's a terabyte drive? Well, a terabyte drive is 1024 gigabytes. So that's like 1 billion bytes. So you can store 1 billion bytes on a computer now. Wow. Well, actually, I think it's like trillion. Maybe not. Okay, gigabytes is billion. Terabytes is trillion. I forgot. Sorry. My mistake. But a trillion bytes. Wow, that's a lot of storage. But you need it nowadays because of all the videos, like the one you're watching now. But anyway, that's the magic number. And when you're going to see computers eventually that won't be just 1 terabyte. There'll be 2 terabytes, then there'll be 4, and then there'll be 8, and there'll be 16, and this will continue on and on until they reach the next whatever. And I'm not sure what they're going to call it after terabyte. I'm sure they've already come up with a name. If they have, let me know. That would be great. It'll be posted right here on. And just leave a comment below if you know what goes past terabyte. I don't know. I'm sure somebody does, and they'll let me know. Anyway, it always goes through this cycle. You go 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and 1024. Then it starts to cycle again. Now, this all should sound familiar to you if you've watched my video Modular Arithmetic, because I discussed something similar in Modular Arithmetic. Don't believe me? Look up the video Modular Arithmetic. You'll find me, and I'll explain that too. So anyway, there you go. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.